let's have a look at England then, because
Yes.
oh wow, that was close. That was close. Just keeping the flag flying for the Northern Hemisphere.
Andy Rowe, you sound absolutely pumped to talk about England being the only undefeated team at the World Cup. There's a Scotsman, a Welshman, and an Irishman walk into a bar. The Englishman ain't there because he's still in the World Cup. The rest of them, they've all gone home. Call it arrogance. Okay, we've had an easy path into the semis, and this is where it starts for England. But it was a hugely improved performance from what we've seen. And I've been honest about England. You know, we beat Argentina in a way. Argentina was shocking. We beat Argentina in a way of playing after getting Curry sent off. The Japan game was underwhelming. They were pretty poor, but England just did enough to win and got a few tries towards the end. Chile, I mean, the under-12s could have beaten Chile, no disrespect, but put 70 on them. And then we were shocking against Samoa, let's be honest. But we found a way to win. For the first 60 minutes, we were pretty much in control of that game. And Farrell, finally, Steve Borthwick has picked Farrell at 10 and stopped messing around. And we spoke about last week, didn't we, around Ford Farrell. He's picked him at 10. And Faz, I thought, was outstanding. In his comfortable position as 10, being the alpha, being the boss, whether you like him, hate him, love him, not bothered, whatever, he was outstanding. Goal kicking was the difference. Obviously Fiji missed a few kicks at goal. Faz, I think he only missed one. Game management. Marrow was big. I thought he's been invisible at times during the World Cup for me, but he was massive. And we looked a lot more cohesive in what we're doing. I don't know if that's because Marcus Smith is playing fullback and it just gives us a bit more excitement and that desire to get the ball out there into his hands. But our shape was a lot better until about the 65th minute mark, when you just know that Fiji have got it in them to score from anywhere on the field because of their size, because of their power, because of their offloading game. And the game actually came down to one offload not going to hand. And it was what led to Billy Vunipola picking the ball up, giving it to Ben Earl. Ben Earl running 60 metres. And how good was he, by the way? But it was Kuravoli who's tried to get the offload away. And he's steaming through. The Fijian lad is absolutely steaming through. There ain't no stopping him from there. But goes to deck. That point, Fiji take the lead, probably win the game. Ben Earl gets the ball off Billy after he's picked it up and goes back however many metres. But it was much improved from England, and a real confidence boost into how far we were in control and ahead at 24-10 up, but showed our frailties, mainly Joe Marler. Showed our frailties at times, but then again found the way to win because they were level, weren't they? 24-24. Faz gets the drop goal. Players stepped up, and it's going to be a whole different test this weekend, and we'll talk about that a bit later. But you can only be positive about where England have got to, having been pretty abject for God knows how long. But the draw has been favourable to us, so we're all good. We're in the semis, and this is where, as we talked about, it gets serious playing a big team, and people will go, "Well, you've not even played a big team. Argentina was shocking." Argentina are in the semis as well, by the way. Yes, they're in the semis because they had an easier draw. But I'm positive about England. It was a big performance. Steve was brave, putting Smith at fullback. Interesting to see whether he does that this weekend. Faz was big. I thought Marchant was out of this world good at 13. Guess what, Steve? You pick players in their right positions and they actually play well. Ben Earl, just ridiculous. Jamie George. How good is Jamie George? He looks like he shouldn't be anywhere near as good as he is. And he looks like he needs to pack in after 60 minutes. But the boy can go and go and go and go, can't he?
Yeah. And that was what was going to be needed. Like the likes of Jamie George, been there and done it. Yeah, Marrow, I'd agree. Like, big performance from him. Like, these are big players. And this is the conversation going into the semi-final. Like, when they're desperate, when they're on it, I thought Genji as well. He looked desperate. He looked like he had a bit of fucking...
Genji in him, bit of dog.
Yeah, bit of Genji in him.
Yeah.
He had a bit of Baby Rhino in him. Like, looked like he wanted to go. So, I don't know. Can they pull? Can they pull something out that can unsettle South Africa? And, like, I'll go back to my point before the tournament started. Doesn't matter how badly England play, they find a way to win. And they've got history in the tournament. 03 win it. 07 finalists when they weren't playing well. last World Cup finalists. So, when you speak to people in and around the stadium from different countries, like Argentinians, French people in the media, like legends of the game, that's what they say about England. As uncomfortable viewing as it can be sometimes, as disjointed as it seems, like it has seemed for the last year or so, they find a way. But they're up against the world champions. And we go back to it, England will have to be at a level that South Africa have been at for the last few weeks, which they were. They were up there against Tonga, against South Africa, against Scotland. England are going to have to get to a level that they haven't got to since, I would say, probably the semi-final 4 years ago, if they're going to be in with a shout of beating South Africa.
Tell you what's interesting. I was hosting on Saturday at Flatiron Square, and an England fan came up to me, and we were just chatting, and he's watching some of the England boys, and he said, "You can see why no one likes England, can't you, when you're looking at that team?" I mean, what do you mean? He's like, look at them celebrating and this and that, and you can see why people dislike the English. And it's the first time I thought, he's probably right. He's probably right. Farrell's berating the referee.
I like what Ben Hill does, though.
Yeah, I know. Like you say that, Andy Rowe. And look, I know some of these players. I played with Ben Earl. Like I coached him in the academy when I was at Saracens. He is a lovely lad. Like there's lads in this, like Jamie George. Like I speak to Jamie. Like I like Jamie a lot. Like huge amount of respect for him as well. Like Dan Cole was way past it and doesn't like me. But I grew up with Coley. I grew up with Coley as a player. We were at Leicester together as kids. Ben Young's exactly the same. I think the thing is it's a historic thing with England where people don't warm to them. It's the way that Farrell interacts with the media, his players, and has that kind of scowl on his face, which is him. That's Owen Farrell, right? I think the thing is around England, and that press conference with Joe Marler kind of summed it up. Like, there's this kind of arrogance and like a little bit of entitledness that came out of that.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Like, I weren't going to talk about it. I weren't going to say it because I don't want to get into it. But you're right. Like, I think from what other team have you seen? Have you seen any other team act like England in a press conference like that? Have you seen any other coach as well give as little as Steve Borthwick has in this tournament? Like, like these kind of small things.
On September the 9th, we would be ready for the World Cup. And I'm so excited for these players. They're great men. This guy next to me, he's such a leader in how he conducts himself every day.
But just with that, and this isn't about Steve Borthwick. It has to be Eddie Jones or Rassi Erasmus or has to be charismatic. This isn't that Joe Marler needs to sit there like a Sia Khaleesi or Damien Delande and give the same vibe off. This is them being them, right?
Yeah.
And there's actually a romance in arrogance. Like, I quite like that. I quite like that part of the game. But I just understand from other people's point of view, when you're playing the way that you play, it's not as if they're setting the world alight and they come in with a white Mohican and give off this kind of brash, almost like tumbleweeds thing. As a team collectively, like, they haven't played that well and they've got into a semi-final. So people are not going to like that as well.
Yeah.
But it's also, people don't like English people. Like, that is the thing in all sports. You think about the teams that people want to beat. Everyone talks about England. It's a historic thing. So you layer that with you layer that with some of the arrogance that we've seen. Yeah, that's why there's a dislike. Owen Farrell's getting booed in the stadium.
I'm trying to work out who was booing him. Some England fans.
Well, I'd say so. But I mean, it's not going to be Fijians. Like, they're not going to hate on Owen, are they? So I'd say it's a little bit of both, and it's this kind of caricature around him. But what's undeniable is that this team, when the pressure's on, when their backs are against the wall, well, they've done it. As poor as they've been in the World Cup in small parts, it's undeniable. They've won every single game. They are the only team standing. So whether or not Argentina are crap, like you just said, Goody, they're in the semi-finals. Like Fiji, have been phenomenal. They absolutely smoked Australia.
Yeah, you're right. And there's a siege mentality to England at the minute. Like, everyone hates us, we don't care. And that just grows, right? The vibe, and it's a pretty shit vibe at times. And England, I don't know if they play up to it, but like how Steve is in the press conferences, it's like him against the world, but he wants to get his answers across in the manner that he wants to, not what the question is. It's his narrative. So, look, I mean, I get it from an outsider point of view. And some England fans have said to me, they're hard to watch, hard to support. But now we're in a semi, and the atmosphere apparently was bouncing. I had some mates over there. It was bouncing in Marseille. We're in it, boys. We're in it. Faz is back.
Mate, it's a one-off game.
Did you say we?
Did I say we?
You said we.
Hey.
Jim said
Hey,
we.
I said he.
He said
I think I
we.
said he.
He said we. Jim's English again.
I think rugby needs a good England team. I do. Like I've always said it, and I'll always will say it. And I want England to do well. It benefits England, benefits the Premiership, but benefits us on the podcast to talk about. I mean, let's be honest. I don't think any players are coming on anytime soon. But
I was trying to think about this the other day. If we wanted someone on, who could we get on? Get on with Joe. I'll get on with Joe Marchant.
And Marla, mate, you're tweeting like you and Marla are tweeting, like literally. He's in the changing room and he's
passive
tweeting.
aggressive, isn't it? Though
You're creating content together.
Yeah, I mean,
he is in the changing room.
He
You're
hates
in the
me.
pub.
I think he's a tool. It's fine.
You are in the pub, Goody, with the fans, and he is in the changing rooms with the players, and there is this kind of this untangible connection that you've got. There's no one else in rugby world that has that apart from you and him. No one.
Yeah.
You're like brothers.
It's a love-hate.
Yeah, I would say, Andy Rowe, that's a great analogy. Like, there ain't a huge amount of difference in how you look. You are like brothers.
Do you know what someone said to me today? One of the lads in the office said to me today, what we should do is do like a charity boxing thing. And I'm like, there's fucking no chance I'm getting in a boxing ring with anyone. He's like, yeah, but imagine how well it would go down. Like, not just me, but a rugby series of people that really don't like each other. Like scrapping in the boxing ring.
If
I'm
you
like,
go
it'll
based
be
on
great
the
for
boxing at the weekend.
Yeah, I'm like, it'd be great for 20 seconds where there's windmills going and haymakers, and then 20 seconds later, no one can breathe. And it's hugging, like the shit show that was the weekend.
Yeah, well, that's it. If you go based on that at the weekend, I'm telling you now, we'd put on a testicle spectacle.
Millions.
As much as the world might hate England, on the other side of the halfway line, the world loves Fiji.
Yeah.
Like, how good have they been for the tournament?
Unreal.
Yeah. Amazing. The colour that they bring, their performances, their smiles, the fans,
the stories.
The stories, the fans that are there, the neutrals that are supporting them, and they're doing it and they're supporting them because of how they conduct themselves and how they play the game of rugby. And that, you know, we've had Simon Rowley on here. What a lovely bloke as their leader. But it's more about just the smiles, how they on their faces. They've got some freak athletes, right? And England handled some of their freak athletes really well, I thought. Like chop tackle galore, and the physicality that we showed. But they have been an absolute breath of fresh air, a pleasure to watch, to see. The content that they've been putting out as well. Everything you hear about them, you cannot dislike a thing about it, and people fall in love with Fijians and the game of rugby and how it's played and how they conduct themselves. So, you know, I'm obviously delighted England are through, and I knew it. I'm watching the game, and I knew everyone in the world, except for England fans, and even something I'm hosting, and there's a table of 15 England fans, and I'm going out with the mic, and they're like, we want Fiji to win. I'm like, you fucking English lads. Like, yeah, but we love Fiji more. And that speaks volumes to me, doesn't it, around an England fan or a bunch of England fans wanting Fiji to beat England. So we don't even like ourselves sometimes. But, yeah, Fiji, an absolute privilege to have seen them, watched them, spoken to them, have them a part of the World Cup. And they'll be gutted that there's a few bits went against them. Lamani's kicks at goal that he missed.
But that pass was the one, I agree with you. One pass away.
Yeah. One little offload where it could have been a try, and that's the difference. And again, we talked about tossing a coin between France and Africa, tossing a coin between Ireland and the All Blacks as the difference. Technically, it was the same for Fiji. At 24-10, it should never have been the case, but they got momentum. Phenomenal athletes, phenomenal rugby players, phenomenal people, and obviously everyone's very sad to see them go. But we're English and we're in the semis, lads.
Pod. Rugby pod.